Ta-da! We're live with Mylia Noir.
Hi.
Yeah, very witty.
And we're going to be talking Enneagram Type 4.
Yes, my old nemesis, Mylia Noir.
Ooh, details.
Oh, well, we got to know each other because I kept arguing with her in one of her groups about her typing.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I wasn't always right, but I'm a 1. I'm usually
Wow,
right.
that's a massive admission from an That is high praise from an E1.
Or just false modesty. I could be lying. I was always right. I just didn't admit it. So, who wants to start?
Mindful games, right?
Enneagram 4. Who wants to start? Anyone?
Well, I would like to look at well, you've got everyone knows the Enneagram 4 wants to be creative, but what about when they're not? In the ways like the average, because most Enneagram 4s are not creative in a professional sense. So how do they satisfy themselves? What does that look like? The sort of person that's not putting themselves into, or what are the subtle ways they can be creative?
Well, one example I was just reading about there was if they had a normal job, they might try and be creative with it, like maybe they'll decorate their workplace or doodles or a lot of things like that. They're just looking for ways to express themselves. They may also dress in a certain way, like an all black.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically we have a stereotypical 4 right here.
So should I change my surname to Noir then? Because I'm a 4. No, that might look weird. No, I won't do that.
Yeah, I would say that most 4s would try to incorporate some kind of beauty or uniqueness in whatever they do or wear or whatever. So they try to create some kind of identity. Yeah, and not all of them, I guess, are creative, but I would actually say most of them try to be creative in some kind of manner. So, yeah.
Yes.
I've heard some people, may have been INFPs, I don't know, but those people who they almost see their creativity in how discerning their taste is.
Yeah, some kind of
almost like the critic. It's almost like the critic that puts themselves above the artist.
Yeah, I've got better taste than you. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to think I was a 4, but one of the things that changed my mind was, well, I used to think I was a 4 in my tri-type, but one of the things that changed my mind was that I'm not anywhere near as creative as I would like to be. Quite self-restrained, so I compared that and the 2 and eventually got with 152 rather than 154. But yeah. Also, I usually typed as 4 in the tests, but that's because INFJ probably. Quite the description overall sounds very NF, so even if you're not in type 4, you might get that. But fairly sure I'm a 1.
Just like most ISTPs type as type 5.
If they're not. So
now, when I take a sort of a temperament inventory that is based on motivation, I will come out as NF if they are based on motivations. So, for instance, the one in, I don't know if you've read this, Mylia? Why Him, Why Her?
No, I haven't.
This is Helen Fisher's very naughty for ripping off David Kersey, but and without giving proper attribution. Unlike Linda Behrens, his former student, and she taught Dario Nardi, so she's an important person. And she will always credit Kersey, even though she's in competition with them. So, for instance, like, she'll credit David Kersey right there and numerous points. And so she's taken on, she's developed David Kersey's work. A lot of it was already in Kersey's work, but presented better. So, for instance, the Kersey temperaments were always about motivation, but she made it explicit by calling the temperaments essential motivator patterns. Now, Helen Fisher wouldn't be able to rip off Linda Bones, because Linda Bones trademarks everything. All the names of her types, everything. Like, get things going, trademark. Discoverer advocate, trademark. Nearly everything, every term she comes up with, she trademarks. Anyway, so the reason I bring this up is that Helen Fisher is, I think, she's a chemist, biochemist, and so she then looked at the hormonal underpinnings of temperament, which goes back to Ernst Kretschmer. Physique. In fact, you could read it in the original, Mylia, because it's in the original German.
Okay.
And he noticed that amongst psychiatric patients, there was a link between physique and character. But he said numerous times amongst normal people, there is not a link between physique and character. But only amongst the psychiatric patients. And usually these psychiatric patients had these conditions because, and they knew at the time that a gland was overactive. So they knew that secretions of the blood, as they called it, were involved with the conditions. And it was Kersey then looked at the work of Kretschmer, and he then saw the work of Myers-Briggs. And what Myers-Briggs actually published was like a one-paragraph description of each of the types. And it was actually David Kersey that expanded the descriptions of the types. And I know we're getting slightly off track. So Kersey...
Slightly.
But the point is, so when I take the inventory in here, in Why Him, Why Her, which is about motivation, I got, for NF motivations, I got 32. NT motivations...
So, just a question, what do you call NF? Does she actually say NF, or is it just negotiator or something?
Yeah, she calls it the negotiator. But
okay.
But when I went through the questions, it's
yeah, it's pretty enough.
It's Kersey. It's Kersey stuff, and also like I've like looked at her grabs, and she even had the gall. She even had the nerve to like use Kersey's terms for like logistical intelligence, tactical intelligence, logistic, and strategic. Like I said, if it were Linda Bones, all those things would have been trademarked, and without. Because what I would, if I was Helen Fisher, if you're listening, Helen, I would have said something like, building on the work of David Kersey, the scientific because then all the people like Kersey would buy the book. Which millions have bought the Kersey book. So, anyhow, get it, the long story short, not a short story long. So, if you define the temperaments by motivation, I come out as NF.
Okay.
Probably because of the Enneagram Type 4. But if you look at the types with the cognitive functions, then I come out as INTP.
Okay.
Long story short.
Okay. I would say that perhaps it's because of your NE subtype, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, your FE is and it makes you an F and so on.
Yes,
and in fact, that's a new thing that's in Victor's theory. The DCNH subtype stuff that's on Wikisocion is out of date. Because that's from a 2006 paper. And then in the actual Hangout, Victor was talking about like 3 functions. So it was like, so if a creative subtype is 2 of like any SE or any accentuate. So he put FE in there as well for creative. So he's slightly nuanced so if you want to see that, folks, that's on my channel, Galenko Hangout number 12. You can see that. And the next one will be soon. And I have a little behind-the-scenes info on some. We may be having a new interpreter who is actually interested in trying to bring together Socionics, NADI, and MBTI. But of course, there's difficulties there. It's probably easier with the intuiting types than the sensing types, because the sensing types there's a lot of difference. But this is an Enneagram hangout.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, my motivation is...
You get used to this.
Yes. It's basically, Jonathan doesn't believe I'm an Enneagram Type 4.
Neither does Mylia.
Ooh!
Well, we're not... Well, we're open-minded but sceptical.
Okay, fair enough. So what type do you think I am? 7 or 5?
SX5 perhaps, maybe 9. But...
A 9?
Maybe 5 wing 4, I think.
Well, maybe.
You could add... I mean, you probably do have a strong 4 fix, by the way, so I'm sure 4's there.
Yeah, but the manner how you just could grab all those books and...
Yeah, I've not read them, though.
And type all the information.
I've only read a tiny fraction of them. Now, if I'd have read all of them, then I would have gone with 5.
Yeah, it's kind of 5-like.
Yeah, but it's not marked up. I mean, because when I do read, then I do read like a 5, and it's like properly marked up. But I think a 5 would want to read everything. But
I think a 5 would have so many books they wouldn't have enough time to read, though. I've got that.
Yeah.
You read more than me. I mean, I'll mark stuff up and analyse it like a proper INTP. But it's only a tiny. If I were a 5, I would have read all of them.
Not really. I knew a guy who was INTP NE 5 wing 4 SXSP, and he sent me a huge file with, I don't know, probably 50 books or something, and he just enjoys storing all this information. He doesn't necessarily read everything, but just enjoys the feeling of having all those books within reach. So yeah.
Yeah, but I do it to promote them, and I do intend on reading them because I like to let actions speak louder than words. So maybe if I do read them all, then I will go with the 5. So it depends on how much on actions speak louder than words. Because I tried to go. We're still supposed to be
doing a video in that, just a video on whether or not you're a 4 or a 5.
Well, maybe, I don't know.
That was promised.
We could do that in the future.
Okay.
In fact, what you could do is you could read my stage play and see if I'm a 4 or not.
Perhaps another time.
Right, so I have the graphic, and I quite like the graphic from the Wikipedia, the simplified graphic. Here it is. I should have got this ready before. So my point being that, as you said, the Enneagram 4 is very NF, and so it's difficult to disentangle the temperament-related qualities from the Enneagram-related qualities.
Yes, I would say the main differences are that Type 4 explicitly focus more on the shadow side of things, on more on their sadness and indifference, on their angst, I suppose.
That's in the stage play if you want to see that. That's in the stage play. Right.
You just love promoting your work, don't you?
Yes. Maybe it's a double wing. Maybe it's a 3 wing.
Perhaps.
Ah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's in Barron and Waverley, where they think that you can take from both wings.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Maybe you could say that the wings are similar to the subtypes in a way, because I feel like, well, with enough hard work, maybe you can change your subtype. And well, I mean socionic subtype. So the wings are almost like the subtypes in socionics. So I can act maybe like the FE subtype, just like I can maybe act like the 3-wing.
What it might be in my case is because 3 can be quite TE, and INTP has control TE or ignoring TE, as you might prefer to call it, and Victor thinks. I think with him, the reason why his INTP profile is so good, and by the way, Kersey Jr. thinks it's really good as well, is that he talked about the INTP is always thinking about practical implementation of their abstract knowledge, but they haven't got the energy or the organizational ability to actually implement their. So that could be similar to a 3-wing where you're thinking about, oh, I need to implement this to achieve this goal. So in my case, when I say, oh, maybe I've got a little bit of a 3-wing as well, maybe that could just be another labels sticking on the TE control.
Well, the thing is, I think many people would like to achieve something, perhaps, without being type 3. It's really about the internal issues, I guess, or just fixations.
Type 3 is really about how much you want success. Like real.
Yeah. So I also know people. Yeah, I also know people who think, or who used to feel a bit different, or just not normal, without being type 4. So it depends.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the wings being socionic subtypes though, because I used to think that.
Yeah, no, it's not the exact same thing. I just mean like roughly.
Not sure, because I used to think I was the NI subtype, but when I reread them properly, the NFE subtype seemed a bit more like me.
Yeah.
So I would have to.
Yeah,
I suppose it's possible that 1-wing 9. I suppose it's possible 1-wing 9 is the FE subtype and 1-wing 2 is the NI subtype. But I would have to meet one.
I meant to say that. Ben said that we can use both wings, and I try to say that basically most people have one wing that is stable and doesn't change much. So in the same manner, most people have usually a subtype that doesn't really change much, but theoretically you could change it, or it could change. I'm not sure how that relates to Enneagram exactly, because I don't believe that people can actually change their wing in Enneagram, but they might include certain aspects from their wing.
I've got if your let's call it the non-wing, but the wing that could be that isn't. If it's within the same triad, could that be? Do people have more access to it? So, for instance, a 4 with a 5 wing, they've got the 3 within the same triad as the 4. Maybe they've got more access to it.
The tri-type.
Yeah. Well, it depends on how strong the wing is.
Yeah, I think
so.
This. Go on.
So if the wing is very pronounced in the person, I would say that the other wing is not as strong. So
I think it can be tricky because, as you know, if you've got an INFP Enneagram 4, they can have with the inferior TE, and if and if you've got, plus it's like a 4 going to 1, learning self-discipline. The 4 that goes to a 1 that's learning about Enneagram might think that they've got a 3-wing because they're developing the 1. The 1 quality of self-discipline for the E4 might make them think they're developing the 3-wing.
Yeah, actually, in my experience, that is not really the case. It was rather the case for the people I've known who were 4w5 and moved to 1 that they believed they were actually type 1. So they didn't believe they had the 3-wing, but they believed they were type 1, and yeah.
I don't mean so much believe they were 3-wing, but sort of like believe that they have maybe elements of that, or an ish. Like they have a main wing, but maybe like elements of the, or they might wish to have a bit of a 3-wing.
Yeah, so I can say that in my experience, a few years ago, I was very much concerned with my type 1 point. So yeah, I was really concerned with being more perfect or whatever, and that included some kind of achievement.
Don't you think you're perfect already?
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, I don't think so. But I didn't want to sound too, I don't know, insecure or whatever, so I said more perfect. No. Anyways,
we will forgive you.
So yeah.
As a non-English Dom.
Yeah. Okay. What?
A few years ago, it was fun.
The idea of being perfect included some kind of achievement, but it wasn't in the way that the type 3 wants success. It comes from this need of. It's like for them, if they are succeeding, they feel loved. So that's why they do it. That's why they want to succeed.
Do you think success for the 3 is more external, and for the 4 it's more internal?
Probably. So with the 4w3, they also have some external ambitions, but I could mention Lady Gaga, who I think is 4w3.
Makes sense.
And she recently stopped. I'm not sure, but she stopped her official music career. I'm not sure what exactly she did, but she made a video and said, "Yeah, I don't like the way this is going," and so on and so forth. So at the end, she put her internal motivation before the external one of being famous and whatever.
Maybe she'll become a cobbler like Daniel Day-Lewis.
Okay.
And then go back to what she does.
But yeah.
Daniel Day-Lewis is a bunch of odd jobs. What if he's a 4 actually? That's possible. He's in.
I'm not sure.
I think he's an INF something anyway.
Yeah.
I've been reading the Rita and Hudson Enneagram Type 4, and it mentions how certain traits can change through levels of development, where the same thing becomes slightly different. So, for instance, when the E4 is healthy, one of their great traits is self-awareness. But then when they become average, that self-awareness morphs into self-absorption. And then that can go into self-hatred. So it's the same thing as when it's really bad. So it's like the same focus on the self. It's almost like good FI, bad FI.
Yeah, I would say so in some way, because most type 4s have good FI. That's what I believe. I believe that all type 4s have good FI.
Oh, they have to.
Yeah. So I don't believe an ENTJ could be type 4. That's just not possible. Or ESTJ.
ENTP would be a weird one for to be a 4.
No, I don't think that works either, because I believe FI, point of least resistance, vulnerable function, cannot be type 4.
Do you think an ENTP could be a 3-wing 4?
Yes. I would say that Jack from BSS is 3-wing 4.
Oh.
Yeah.
He thinks he's a 7, and he has talked quite a bit about how he wastes a lot of time. And recently, in his video where he types someone we know, he mentioned, he does Yeah,
I
he has.
thought-
Oh, there's a video on my channel, Mylia, called
Okay.
Enneagram versus Socionics. It's a
Mm.
4-hour-long marathon
Oh my goodness.
of Jack comparing Socionics and Enneagram.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, I don't know Jack that well, I guess, but that's just my impression of him. And the way he sets up yes and what he wants to accomplish and
I'll write something in the side because you both because I've not been cleared to say this, but I'll put it in the side about Jack.
okay.
Not rude.
Yeah, I don't I just want to mention an example of an ENTP to be 3 4.
Yeah, that's the.
Okay. Dominant? What is dominant?
Accentuated
Is that?
in the naughtiest version of DCNH, that would be FE and TE, because he is also an actor, and now he's probably put SE in there as well in his new DCNH.
Sorry. He's an actor. Okay, so
Yeah, if you want,
more type 3.
He's done a lot of acting.
I want to see your cat now.
Okay, 1 second.
Oh, Jonathan, good word choice. You could have gone Mrs. Slocum on us.
I don't understand that reference. Okay.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. I really don't know what that means.
Okay, well, I'm not going there. I'm not explaining that. The audience will know. Right.
Yeah.
An ENTP wouldn't have been able to resist themselves. Right.
Aww.
All right, here we go. Let's click on a square. Let's see.
Aww.
Let's see.
No, it's gone
Oh, the cat's
already.
gone. Ah, well.
Yes.
You'll get a million views now. You've got a cat in the video.
Yes.
That should be your screenshot.
Yeah.
You see,
Okay.
all the best stuff I have about Enneagram 4 is in the Reese and Hudson levels of development. That's they have it in their cognitive. Have you got that book, Mylia? Was it personality types?
Yeah, I actually don't have that many typology books, but yeah, I don't have that one.
I'm more any illiterate than you then.
Yeah, I've got the one by Beatrice Chestnut, I think is her name.
Yeah.
Yay! That's the current flavour of the month, flavour of the year, I suppose. But
Yeah, I really like this. I really like that one. And I've got I think, Helen Palmer
Helen Palmer.
about relationships and with the Enneagram, certain type combinations and so on.
now, this as an INTP, this appeals to me. A nice little diagram. So
I can't see it. I can't see it. I can only see your face. It was there a moment ago and it just vanished.
Okay. Right. I will try again. Let's see if it works. Alright. And can you see it now?
Yes. It's a bit. Can you zoom in a bit?
Yep. Let's go in there.
Okay.
We might as well look at this because we don't know how many future hangouts we'll have with Mylia, so we might as well go straight to the good stuff.
Okay, so this is the healthy level 1 type 4.
Yeah, the idea is that they're so healthy that they don't even need to be creative anymore, and they've become a god.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's really a struggle for type 4s to have this realization that they are not inherently flawed. I've noticed recently, well, rather maybe a few months ago, or no, a few weeks ago, whatever, I realized, yeah, I'm not actually flawed, but that's just my mind, I think so, or whatever it is. And then I've also noticed whenever something happens that is not nice and I get a bit sad or somber or whatever, that I start to feel more flawed. So I suppose that's how it works, you know, when you're sad, you're a bit less healthy, and then you start feeling more flawed as a type 4.
See, I've not looked at yet exactly. Do you know what the A terms and B terms are, Jonathan?
Yeah, what's that?
Right, I'll go and have a little look because that's on a different page.
Live embrace. I don't know what.
There it is. I've actually got it here. I got it here because I did some. We can actually find out live what this means.
Oh dear. Okay.
I marked up that bit, level of liberation, because yeah, if you want to know about the basic fear and desire, buy this other book, and Jonathan has that book, Understanding the Enneagram.
It's an engaging read.
Yeah, looks like it.
This is actually the very back of the book that we're looking at, so it's not the good stuff is, you know, other parts. It's a little bit out of date, but otherwise it's pretty good.
Right, so this may explain the A term. Oh, I know now why. That's in a different section of the book, because this explains. That's the meaning of the levels of development. The bit that explains A terms and B terms is in the section about the core dynamics. So it's not the actual explanation of it isn't actually in this bit. I'm sorry. So, but that is very good though for the E4.
Oh, pardon me.
So we'll go back to So what about that as a fear, Mylia, that they have no identity or personal significance?
Could you say that again, please? I didn't get it.
How much is that a fear for you that they have?
Oh, fear.
Yeah, the basic fear there.
Good question. I'm not sure.
Yes, it's very hard to answer because it's quite personal.
Yeah, I think it's mostly a thing when you are younger, like in your teens. That's also, I think, a matter of development.
We go with the flow. This is a go with the flow channel.
Yeah.
We always go with the flow.
One time.
Sorry, something is going on in the background.
Yes.
Okay.
One time, me and Ben were recording a video, and immediately after it started, this phone went, and I lost about 15 minutes of that video.
Oh yeah, that's on. It's on my channel as how not to do an Enneagram hangout.
Yeah, okay, so I want to say that most people go through certain life stages. I think Aaron Henriksen was the guy's name who came up with this idea. And most people in their teens have this problem or issue where they try to figure out who they are. And I think this is very pronounced for type 4s. And I suppose it can go on for them, but...
So did you say Milton Erickson?
Not Milton, I'm not sure, I just know his last name.
Right.
Maybe I'm not sure if it's the right guy, but...
Because I know Milton Erickson was a hypnotist.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was a hypnotist.
Right.
maybe it's just Ericsson. I'm not sure. But yeah, so I think at this point, yeah, I guess you always have it in the back of your mind somewhere, but I don't currently have this fear of having no identity.
That you're aware of.
Maybe I'm not that healthy, I guess. But for me, there's often this reinvention where I feel like I have to create something new or some kind of new image sometimes.
So because you don't have that fear, that means, so what do you think your identity is now?
I'm not sure. I mean, well, for typology, I guess my identity is Mylia Noir. You know,
It's something to ponder.
How do you define your identity? I don't know.
Very tricky. It's very tricky to interview Enneagram 4s.
Oh, the man's name is Eric Ericsson. Ericsson, that's it.
Ericsson, okay.
Eric Ericsson.
Okay. Yeah.
From the land of Eric.
Yeah, I think I've read.
Perhaps he knows Magnus Magnusson as well.
Yes.
Okay. Tom Condon or something also likes to write about Enneagram types, and I think he's mentioned that this life development thing is related to type 4 in the sense that everyone goes through this particular life stage, so everyone has a type 4 phase in some way where they question who they are. When people start following certain peer groups, for instance, to get a sense of who they are, who they belong to. Yeah.
One phrase that I've heard from Greg Gutfeld is the phrase a lot of people, where it's identity over achievement, where people identify with a certain group or certain subset. So, for instance, you could have maybe an INFP, or no, let's say an Enneagram 4 that's within a certain movement, and their identity is being part of that movement.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can find that personal significance within being part of that movement.
Yeah, I could. An example for that would be, for instance, the Gothic subculture. That is basically very type 4.
So did you say, the sound went a bit peculiar, did you say goth?
Yeah, Gothic subculture. Gothic. This is a good example of this kind of group thing that is also very type 4. I used to identify myself as a goth or whatever. Or I used to be really into it. Yeah.
Did you used to have the panda eyes? That goths
The
used?
what?
Panda
The
eyes.
what
Panda
eyes?
eyes.
Did you put black makeup on your eyes?
I think when I first started out using makeup, but that was more of an accident, not really intentional. So.
Yeah, because they described them as a panda-eyed goth.
Okay.
Did not know that.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so I think the Gothic subculture is very social for, though not everyone there is actually as the instinct. But yeah.
I would actually think there's a lot of 6s in goth subculture as well. Counterphobic especially.
Those are more the metalheads. They are often 6. So the metal goth or whatever is often a type 6, I think. But they have 4 in their tri-type, I would say.
Isn't it ironic that the type that is called the individualist can get themselves in a state where their identity is being part of a group, where they are the same as everybody else within that group.
Yeah, well, it's also a human thing, wanting to belong, and it's especially potent for the social instinct. So it's kind of ironic, especially for the type 4, the social type 4. They want to be unique or special, but they also want to belong. Oh, damn it. My cats.
That's great. It also explains why, because it's quite hard for me to understand with, because, you know, Kersey has those two slices, abstract, concrete. Like, so, abstract intuitives, concrete sensing types. And then he'll have the NFs and the SJs as cooperative. And it's quite hard to see how NFs are cooperative, but certainly in that example of the E4.
I'm cooperative.
That's good. But Kersey uses cooperative in the sense of going along with our society, that your group wants to do things.
This cat is going to get us ratings.
Yeah.
That's the thing to remember.
Oh, there are so many innuendos that are being avoided right now. Right.
Not by me. I mean, I'm not making any innuendos. I'm actually a social boy and sex boy in sport. I don't do that.
Yeah, you're avoiding them. You're avoiding them by not saying them.
No, you're just assuming things, Ben. You have a dirty mind. I am actually talking about the cat. I love cats.
Yeah. So do I.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we're making her very uncomfortable now, which I also enjoy doing, but nonetheless. So yeah, I want to talk about levels of development.
Yes,
well, wanting to belong and being individual at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's very different from SPs and NTs in Kersey's view. Although NTs, but again with the SFPs, that can be, especially ISFP. And it's almost as if Enneagram is more important than the Jungian type.
In what sense?
Well, in that it can override the motivation that you would associate with a temperament.
Yeah, I think it's tricky to assign any motivations to the temperaments. I wouldn't do it. Because, the Enneagram determines your motivation. So that's why I think, well, that's also why I prefer the clubs in socionics. They just describe overall interests and what the person might focus on more. But it doesn't really say, they are motivated in this exact way or whatever, so, yeah.
Yeah, I think
That's a good point.
a lot of the motivation when it comes to things like MBTI, that's because they're trying to be all-inclusive or explain things that aren't quite as relevant. And it's better to approach functions as a cognitive style and Enneagram as a motivational style and keep them a bit separate.
Yeah, I mean, Kersey may have been projecting when, because he was INTP and assuming all NTs are Enneagram 5-ish in root. And as we know, ENTJ is, 8s and 3s. So I need to read more about that chapter. See, it would be good if Kersey Jr. read about. In fact, I know. Could ask Dario in future, right? Because he actually knows more about Enneagram than he lets on. He's recently done some research on Enneagram type and EEG activity, but he's published it in a periodical that's and it's going to be a while before it's going to be available to the public because it was done for that periodical. So eventually I'll be able to see it. So yes, the thing about identity for the Enneagram 4.
Yeah, I believe that this fixation on being unique or special is a coping mechanism. So, yeah, I'm not sure exactly how, but it has something to do with the feeling of having no identity or something to that degree. So they feel like they can survive better if they create this sense of identity or of being unique.
How does religion, how does faith get involved with the Enneagram 4's self-image?
I think that would depend on the individual. Like, some 4s might be more religious than others.
Yeah,
sure.
it really depends. I know one type 4 author, you may know her, Anne Rice.
Yes.
She wrote The Interview with the Vampire, and she is a type 4 wing 5, I would say, and she's I think pretty religious, or she used to be not religious, and then she was converted back in a way. Yeah, so she really gains inspiration from her spirituality or her religion. So yeah, I would say it could be a source of inspiration for type 4s. But there are also some who don't really believe in anything. Yeah.
Right, so I've just got the bits here from the there's a bit here on in the moment of inspiration they are, paradoxically, both most themselves and most liberated from themselves.
So yes. Yeah. Sounds like a paradox, but they are expressing their unique self or whatever, without being self-absorbed, basically, without always thinking about themselves and how much they suck or whatever, or how bad their life is.
But
you also need to remember that the Enneagram, especially as defined by originally, is considered a bit of a trap. Your personality is considered a bit of a prison that you're supposed to break out of. I don't know if that's necessarily true or how modern one would see it, but it's definitely how Chazo
Chestnut puts it very well. What is it? A roadmap for liberation? A roadmap? Well, how does she puts it very well. I can't remember. She sees the Enneagram as a, what is it? A roadmap to freedom? I can't remember. Self-liberation? Anyway, when I find out, I'll write it down. I might stick it on the wall. So, Jonathan, you could show, because you have the book, you could show page 136 in personality types.
Give me a... well, that's not how this is arranged, so I don't know if... What's the chapter?
The chapter is chapter 4. Well, it's on type 4, chapter 6.
Oh, chapter 4. Okay.
Well, what? Chapter 6, but on type 4.
Yeah, so which part do you want me to show?
Well, it's the bit, it's like, it's the bit where it says in the feeling triad. After the overview of the 4.
No, hopefully you will not get sued. I won't get sued for this. You've already accepted responsibility.
Yes, I
have. So, that's it. Let's say 4 personality structure.
No.
It's at the very end of the chapter.
The very end of the chapter. Fast.
Yeah, it's cool that she also mentions how each instinctual variant can grow as a person.
Self-development.
Right. What I can do is I'll just so that we don't get sued. What I'll do is I'll read through some bit because I've marked it up. What do we have here? The 4 is the personality type which emphasizes the subjective world of feelings in creativity and individualism, in introversion and self-absorption, and in self-torment and self-hatred. In this personality type, we see creative artists, romantic aesthetes, and withdrawn dreamers, people with powerful feelings who feel different from others because self-consciousness blocks them from getting outside themselves. 4s are the most self-aware of the types, and this is the basis of what is the most positive and negative about them. The constant conflict we see in 4s is between their need to be aware of themselves so they can find themselves, and at the same time their need to move beyond self-awareness so that they will not be trapped in self-consciousness.
Pretty true. Yeah.
And you can, and like of all the personality types, you would see that most in like INFP as like an FI trait of self-awareness, self-consciousness. Where if you think of like, because when FI is really weak, you see so much lack of self-awareness.
I've read certain excerpts from the book by Reinin, or the sociologist.
Yeah.
Gregory Reinin.
Yeah, and he created this deep self-knowledge with NI. So.
Well, it gets even weirder. Galenko associates E4 with FE.
What? Why?
No, that's not true.
Maybe it's because of expressiveness.
Yeah, but no.
No.
No, I don't agree. Sorry.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah.
Surely E2 would be FE. What does he associate E2 with?
I think it's SI.
There was E9 meant to be.
I can't remember. I mean, I got this. Cause I think it's with his charges as well, and plus he's not looked into Enneagram greatly. It's only like in the last less than a year, I reckon.
I've only looked into it less than a year. I'm a master now.
Yes, but
although I did have a good teacher. Oh yeah, thank you.
So another bit here. What have we got? The tension between self-awareness and self-transcendence can be resolved in creativity. In the creative moment, healthy 4s harness their emotions without getting lost in them, not only producing something beautiful, but discovering who they are. In the moment of inspiration, they are paradoxically both most themselves and most liberated from themselves. This is why all forms of creativity are so valued by 4s, and why, in its inspired state, creativity is so hard to sustain. 4s can be inspired only if they have first transcended themselves, something which is extremely threatening to their self-image. In a sense, then, only by learning not to look for themselves will they find themselves and renew themselves in the process. Right. Then I've highlighted this next bit in orange, so this must be good. Let's see if this is good. The problem with average 4s, however, is that they try to understand themselves by introspecting on their feelings. As they move inward in search of self, they become so acutely self-conscious that their subjective emotional states become the dominant reality for them. Have you ever been at that stage, Mylia?
Well, my first thought was, this is very FI. But I guess kind of. I can definitely relate to the self-conscious aspect. As far as I know, the social type 4 is the most self-conscious of all 4s. So the self-preservation 4 is kind of the opposite, or tries to be the opposite. Yeah, so I can relate to that a lot, and a good example would be, I think, Michael Jackson, who was a social type 4, and he also had he was very self-conscious.
Yes.
He was, yeah, even though he was a great artist and whatever, and everyone was like, "You are awesome," he was still so self-conscious.
I've got some background info on that. His father was really strict with the and like he beat them, and he would tease Michael Jackson about his fat nose. So you can see now why he went that such a small nose. And at the time, Michael Jackson, when he was an early teenager, he got a lot of acne, and I've been there. So like even his father would tease him about his acne, and so there was a lot of pressure from his father. And here's another good bit. Thus, average 4s begin to employ their imaginations to stir up their emotional life. They can take even the most transitory encounter with a person and dwell on it for hours to extract all of its emotional juice.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, those sentences make me want to be creative again, or more creative.
Yeah, I'm just here's a good bit. Because then this talks about the unconscious. Because I'm just, you know, I don't want to read it all out, but so I'm just trying to find the best bits. In healthy 4s, however, the rich life of the unconscious becomes accessible and is given shape. More than any other personality type, healthy 4s are the bridge between the spiritual and the animal in human nature, because they are so aware of these two sides of themselves. They sense in themselves the depths to which human beings can descend, as well as the heights to which they can be swept up. No other personality type is as habitually aware of the potentials and predicaments of human nature. Human beings are spiritual animals occupying an uneasy place between two orders of existence. 4s sense both sides of their potentially conflicting natures, and they suffer intensely or are ecstatic because of them. This is why, because they have been able to get in touch with the hidden depths of human nature by delving deeply into their own. By doing so, they transcend themselves and are able to discover something universal about human nature, fusing personal conflicts and divergent feelings into art. Now, that could be condensed into, you need to suffer for your art.
Yeah.
Trying to find. Here's a good one. Here's a good chapter. Problems with identity. Self-discovery is an extremely important motive for 4s, because they never feel that their sense of self is strong enough to sustain their identities, particularly if they need to assert themselves. So that's weird. The sense of self and then their identity. So you've already got an unhealthy state there, where if you've got an identity and then yourself is less than that, then it's almost like you're acting towards that identity. It was almost like it's a persona.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's the same with all the image types, especially.
Yeah.
The 2, 3, and 4 all personas. Everyone kind of has a persona in a way, but 2, 3, and 4 are really about the persona.
Yeah, I would say for the social image types, it's the strongest. So for myself, for instance, I like it when I can go somewhere where people don't know me, because then I can project a new image in a way. So because when people already know you, they have a certain idea of what you are like and of your identity or sense of self. So when I am in a new situation, I can just act like I'm a totally different person.
What sort of thing? Could you give an example? How do you act?
Well, okay, I can give maybe a less extreme example, but I used to be pretty bad at maths in high school, or no, wait, in middle school, and then when I went to high school, I had a new teacher, and I just acted like I was good at maths.
In other words, maybe what you did, what Victor would say is that's a beneficiary shift, where you act like an INTP.
Okay, I'm not sure. I just said to myself, I'm going to be good at this now, and I will act like I've never been bad at it. And this was like a different identity in a way.
So did you actually become good at maths, or did you just act like you were good at maths?
In comparison to before, I was much better. I think, yeah, much better. But I also studied a lot. But it was a mix of studying a lot and acting like I was good at it. So fake it till you make it, basically.
Yeah, that's very much like Maria said the same thing in the DCNH hangout, where because she's the same type as you, Martha, and she said that when she was at school, she experienced this shift towards INTP, TINX, and she even became like a mathlete in Moscow.
Okay.
And
yeah.
So beneficiary shift.
Okay. I think most people will try to be like their benefactor in some way or some stage in their lives.
Oh, well, this is like they become like their beneficiary.
Yeah, well, you say I became more like my beneficiary.
Yeah.
I can say that I've, at least consciously, I tried more to be like an ISFP.
Oh.
Well, maybe not when it comes to maths, but with other things in life. And I guess, yeah.
That might be Enneagram 4, because the ISFP is associated with the composer, the artist.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's that, but also it's like ISFPs are like the kind of type 4 I would like to be, in a way. It's like they are a more ideal version. So yeah, and then it also plays in with them being my benefactor. So I was like, oh yeah, that's so cool. They can do this SE stuff and I can't, and I don't know. And I try to be like that. And I guess some people still type me as ISFP sometimes, and I guess I've accomplished.
Yeah, that's a compliment.
Thing.
There you go. Yeah, I got a good inferior SE.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Another example of the beneficiary shift, folks, is Maria says that INTJs, NITX, can sometimes, when they meet people, they'll act like an INFP, FINX, when they tell you about their values and their things, because their beneficiary is INFP. So,
yeah, that plays in the hidden agenda, I would say.
Yeah.
So they bring forth their hidden agenda. And I think that's also the reason why many ISFPs are being mistyped as INFJ and vice versa. Well, mostly in the other direction. Mostly ISFPs mistyped as INFJ. The same for ISTPs. They often mistype themselves as INFJ because of this hidden agenda thing.
Yes, it's crazy. What Dario has noticed about... what's crazy about ISFP is they are so weird in the EEG data because their NI can be so strong, and like certain patterns emerge, and so it's like how they become a very creative type in a completely different way from an intuitive. And Dario was saying that, and you have this sort of weird star pattern where different parts of the brain coordinate. And but in terms of, I mean, we all know the back of the brain is
visual.
We know it's the occipital lobe. Yeah, the home of the visual cortex. And ISFP, FISX has the most activity at the back of the brain of all the types. And so that fits like strong SI in, and also ISDP as well. Back of the brain is very active and completely different activity from INTP. Very different. But I bring that up because, and then I asked Dario about how are INFPs and ISFPs different in their creativity, and Dario said that for ISFP it takes a lot more effort for them to be creative, and usually their creativity is more visual than an INFP's, and that sort of goes with what we already know. The INFPs are more towards writing, and ISFPs are more towards visual arts and music. But yeah, I mean, because like at the face of it, you would think, wait a minute, they're a sensing type. How can they be creative? But it's like they go into this. But like Kersey would say, hang on a minute, creativity is, because it's like when you look at the socionic, like when you look at the Model G profiles, like any kind of creativity they'll all like put in, especially like the NE box rather than the SE box. So it's like, so any kind of creativity from the ESFP, oh, strong NE role function. So it's a little bit.
Yeah, it's a bit biased, maybe.
Yes, just a little bit. So there's a nice little paragraph here on that, and I've actually written at the side opposite of ESTPs. So after this bit about, I'll reread this bit again and then I'll start it. So self-discovery is an extremely important motive for fours because they never feel that their sense of self is strong enough to sustain their identities, particularly if they need to assert themselves. Because their feelings change so readily, their sense of identity is not solid, dependable in their own hands. They feel undefined and uncertain of themselves, as if they were a gathering cloud which may produce something of great power or merely dissipate in the next breeze. Fours can never tell how the next moment will affect them, so it is difficult for them to count on themselves. Something is missing in the self, something they cannot quite put their finger on, but which they feel they lack nonetheless. Do you identify with that?
I would say, well, I've been writing on a story, and it's about a girl, well, a young woman who, long story short, is being turned into a robot, and she, all the time, she's questioning herself, which is actually human, whether her identity is actually the same as it was before, whether her consciousness is the same, or whether it's just different or artificial now. And this paragraph reminds me of that. So I guess in some way I relate to it, but I'm not consciously thinking of it all the time. It comes maybe through things I write.
Mylia, I have a program for you, Mylia. Have you ever seen Battlestar Galactica Mark II?
No, but...
That's all about that. It's all
yes,
about...
Someone has told me I should watch it before.
And also, there is a huge duality between Starbuck, female ESTP, writ large in huge neon letters, and this Leoben character who talks about rivers and streams of time, and he's like, so INFJ.
Okay.
So you've got that. But like I said, and then they had a sequel, rather prequel, called Caprica, which is all stuff about artificial intelligence. Dario, a big fan of both series. So yeah, that's a good one for that. But yeah, that's. I think you should keep writing that. That sounds like a good idea.
Mm.
You mean my book? Or my
Yeah,
movie?
that sounds like a very nice idea. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's basically a mix of NT and NF. It's like science fiction from an NF view, I think.
And a good way to leverage, as Dario would say with TI.
Yeah.
What was it? Leveraging. He calls it, because using Enneagram. So the way you apply, so if you apply Enneagram to that writing, Dario would say gaining leverage using a framework. So it's like you're using the Enneagram framework to improve the writing.
Maybe.
Or inspire you to think of things. And so have you thought of an Enneagram type for the character?
To be honest, I think she's very much like me. So she's probably like just the same type as I am. Yeah. She's not. There are some differences, but it's very, very personal in some ways. So yeah, she's probably 4w5.
Are you going to publish it?
Sorry, what did you say?
Are you going to publish it?
Oh, well, I'm not even finished yet. So.
I recommend Lulu.com, and Jonathan and I could be proofreaders for you.
Yes,
oh, really?
I'm a professional critic, you know.
Really?
Well, I write reviews and I get paid little
Oh, cool. Okay,
small amounts of.
So you could proofread my book?
Yes,
Awesome.
if you translate it into English.
It's in English. I'm writing it in English.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That'll make it much easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Here we go. Yeah.
It's very much the mix of type 4 and type 5. So my 5 wing is pretty strong, also because I have 5 in my tri-type. So I think that's probably why, yeah, my story is so much type 4, type 5, and science fiction and so on.
Yeah.
Here's another paragraph. The difficulty is that average 4s may not know what their feelings are until they have been expressed personally or artistically. If they express all that they feel, they fear that they may reveal too much, exposing themselves to shame or punishment. On the other hand, by not expressing their feelings, average 4s undermine the possibility of discovering themselves by getting caught in endless self-absorption. They become aware of being aware of themselves. Their consciousness is filled with little more than fantasies and memories, ultimately leading to illusions, regrets, and a wasted life. So that bit at the beginning about fear of revealing too much, exposing themselves to shame or punishment, do you have that?
Yeah. I can tell you, before I told you I would join this hangout, or I thought about it, whatever, I was thinking about, okay, how much will I reveal?
We could talk about other Enneagram 4s. You don't have to talk about yourself. Or you could make it all up.
Yeah, I really thought about how candid will I be? How much can I reveal without being too much?
Well, we want you to come back in future, so you don't feel like you have to say too much.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely a thing.
That's fair enough.
So, do you have to go in a moment, Mylia?
There's no need to prompt her, Jonathan.
Oh, she's saying in the group chat. That's all. Just be polite.
Oh right, I forgot. Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
So right then, we can have a look at. So we've done this. So, what do you hope to get out of your writing, Mylia?
Yeah, good question. Well, well, maybe that sounds a bit too narcissistic, but I've always been good at writing, I guess. Well, people told me I could write pretty well, and really enjoy writing stories in class and reading them out loud, and yeah, so I thought I would be a writer someday, and I think it's the most natural profession for me that would be the most organic or the most fitting. Yeah, I would like to share my visions or my thoughts about life or anything. And on a personal basis, it's also a way to, yeah, I'm not sure, to really, it's also a way to grow for me. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, a little, not got much time. So, Career Within You, written by Wagley and Stubb.
Okay. I want to get that book.
Yeah, it's not as funny. I mean, I found out it's Rennie Barron who was the funny one, so I've got a lot of her other books. But Wagley's funny as well. But Barron's the really funny one. Sorry, Elizabeth. But so the 5 strengths of Enneagram 4, according to these two, are ability to discern, aesthetic sense, compassion, imagination, and sense of meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay.
the jobs that use those strengths to the maximum are, believe it or not, actor or actress, artist, as in painter, photographer, sculptor, etc., director, plays, motion picture, radio, TV,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
musician, composer, conductor, vocalist, instrumentalist, writer, lyrics, non-fiction, novels, poems, scripts. By scripts means TV, movies, and plays. So
yeah, that's basically all the careers I've considered myself.
But the problem is for we E4s is there's not enough spots for us because there's a lot of E4s compared to the number of spots available. Although it is much easier these days with Lulu and YouTube.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, I wanted to be a director for some amount of time, and
So I can ask you a semi-personal question, but in your YouTube channel, do you see that as helping your E4 goal? That you see that as a creative outlet?
yeah, I think so. Well, when I created my first YouTube videos, I just wanted to connect with people. I think it was a very social instinct thing.
Yeah.
I felt like, to be very honest, I felt like in my real life, I didn't have that much ability. No, not ability, but I didn't have the chance to really connect with many people, or just I didn't. I felt like I didn't connect with many, so I thought I could do that via YouTube videos. And that's also a type 4 thing, but I often felt like not many people get me, or many people don't work with me, so I thought maybe when I go online I can find like-minded individuals.
So my advice to E4s is if you want to move to Enneagram 1, follow this book, because this is technique.
Follow that book. No,
yes, follow that book.
No.
Look at the reviews.
You don't like this book, Jonathan?
Do you know who Robert McKee is? If you watch YouTube videos of Robert McKee, you'll get it. He's probably an ENTJ. He's just really rigid. That's the problem.
Well,
he's got all these rules of how you should write. And
no, they're not rules. They're principles.
Have you ever seen the movie Adaptation?
No.
Ever seen? No. Well, it's real life-ish. He's in the film. He's a real person, but in the film he's played by Brian Cox.
His friend.
And he's yes, they're friends, and he's shouting at his audience and everything when he's winning. How it's like, if I love God, do not write voiceover.
Okay. Here we go. I'm going to give you some gold from Robert McKee. Absolute gold. So, Mylia, how about this? The substance of story is the gap between expectation and result. So you have a situation where a character is surprised by a certain event in a film, and they take an action. So, for instance, and it's just that gap between the subjective realm and the objective realm, how you think the world is, and then how the world actually is, and then when the world reacts in a different way, or somebody reacts in a way that you weren't expecting, and then it's like, well, what does the person do now? And then how they react in that shows you something about their character. So, for instance, there might be just on a simple level. Say it's like on a physical level where there's an accident, and someone decides, oh, do they save the baby in the corner, or do they go straight out of the room and leave the baby to die? And this could actually be a person who thinks they are brave. So that's like their self-image. They might think that, but then that event arrives, and boom, they're confronted with the choice, and it's like a gap for them. And then, but by the way that person reacts, it tells you something about their character, and then also how they then think about those choices. So if you concentrate your writing on choices and how people make choices and the consequences of those choices, you get this wonderful interweave of structure and character, where the plot is character-driven.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think I've already done that at the beginning.
yeah. So you get a lot of that in Shakespeare, where the plot is character-driven.
Yeah.
And that way you don't get these over-structured plots, which
Yeah,
is like all plot and no story.
Reminds me of...
Can I hear you?
Just will do.
Can't hear you. Hello?
Yeah, whenever the sound goes out, I do the weird thing of leaning in. I mean, as if that makes any difference, but it sort of like signifies Ben is trying to hear what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, that will make no difference, but it shows.
Yeah, we didn't hear that. Sorry.
Okay, what did you hear? What was the last thing?
None of it.
I think you said... I think you said something like, oh, that's easy, Ben, I knew that ages ago. I knew that at the start. But there's loads of other principles, like the harder you make it for the protagonist is usually the better, because then if you can have the protagonist come through these really hard struggles believably, then you have the character go through more of the dark side, experience more, then it's more of a test for the protagonist, and the audience gets behind the character more, that they'll be able to come through something so tough.
Yeah.
But then that's more challenging for the writer, because the writer has to believably get the character out of these really tricky situations. So it's both a test for the writer as well, to like build this huge level of these forces of antagonism. And you can have forces of antagonism on 3 levels, like physical, the extra personal. So like say in an action movie, like you've got the police after you, and then maybe you've got the personal level of conflict, like individual relationships, and then the worst one for us would be conflicts from within. That certain so if you create a story that works on these different levels at the same time. So again, it goes back to Dario, gaining leverage for a framework. And so and McKee is a neo-Aristotelian, and the neo-Aristotelians combined what Aristotle wrote with Stanislavski. So Aristotle went a long way around talking about unity and variety, and it's like quite hard to understand. But then Stanislavski will just say, well, and then if you combine it with Stanislavski, you just say, well, what unifies a story is the super-objective. So you could say that ultimately a story is a quest. That's what gives the unity to the story.
Yeah, okay. Does he say anything about nemesis, or what qualities the bad guys should have, or the antagonists?
No, you see, it's not that. You see, it's not like Sid Field, who would give like formulas. He's talking about your actual principles that have worked over time. He doesn't actually talk about characterization in that sense, because that would be prescriptive. He talks about, so what he would talk about though is it's good to have characters that are different inside from the way they first appear. So a difference between surface characterization and true character.
So why did you ask him what name is this?
Why I'm asking?
Yeah, just curious.
Yeah, because I noticed many people recommend having a good antagonist or a good nemesis, and I actually tend to struggle with this a bit.
Well, I'm an expert
maybe
in that
because
subject. I'm an expert in evil characters.
Also, that fits McKee, what he said, the forces of antagonism. And if the forces of antagonism is a person, you want to make those difficulties really tough. Because then you get behind the hero more, or heroine more. But
actually, at this point, I should invite you to the Batman hangout.
Yes!
You promised me.
Yes! I promised him the Batman hangout, if he does the Only Fools and Horses hangout.
Yes.
Yeah, I would probably join the Batman hangout.
Yes!
That would be good.
We'll get some more views.
Yeah, because I'm a Batman fan, or yeah.
We'll get your fan base in.
Good.
Yeah, with the antagonist thing, I came to mostly has something to do with FI versus FE valuing. Because it seems like FI valuing authors usually have clear bad guys or evil.
Not always. No.
Not always, but in comparison, they sometimes have a clear this is good, this is evil, and I don't really have it. I find it difficult to come up with that.
I would say that's more of a one fix thing.
I remember reading something that in classical literature, old novels, it was only really necessary to motivate the villain, and that the hero would be a reaction against the villain, and that before the villain comes into the picture, the hero is sort of an unmotivated character.
Villains act, heroes react.
Yeah.
That's not always true.
Yeah. And there was a good novel on Doctor Who where he's a catalyst and he brings about changes in other people. But what were you saying? Oh no, I've distracted myself.
Any problems?
Oh yes. Oh yeah, something else. The contradiction. And this is actually good for yes, any problems. Very good. I'll use that in future. Right. What do you think a character dimension is, Mylia?
I'm not sure. Different levels to the character.
It's amazing, isn't it? We know all this about typology, yet it's a hard question to answer. So, I'll tell you what Robert McKee thinks. He thinks it's a contradiction. And if you notice it in real people, so for instance, someone can be both kind and cruel.
Yeah.
Depending on, like I said, if you write the story well, if you think about the contradictions a character has, and you think, well, if I write it to show this side. So, for instance, have you ever seen The Godfather?
Yes.
Right. So you can say that they are multi-dimensional characters where, depending on who they're interacting with, it shows different sides to them. Whether they're interacting with their family, a victim, priest or something, or so you can design the cast in order to show different sides to a character.
Yeah. Well, with The Godfather, it seems more like the different social personas, or I wouldn't. Yeah. Well, maybe it's like different kinds of characters.
And even dynamics within the family. I suppose the way towards his different sons. You can bring out.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have. I mean, say you had a story with an ESTP. Well, I mean, I don't like. I mean, ESTPs generally appear to me a-holes. But if you did a story where they were nice towards someone, and he made it believable. So if you showed an ESTP with an INFJ, I'm suppose the INFJ could use their superpowers to bring the nice side out of the ESTP.
Yeah, maybe.
Now, that is a superpower, that is, to bring out the nice side of an ESTP.
Well, I don't think they are that bad.
Oh, so you definitely are an INFJ.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I have to say that I have to go.
Alright.
Okay. So yes.
So maybe we end on a high note or something, or
I'm glad
maybe
you
you
think
ask,
it's a high note. Marvelous.
maybe, or you just ask the last type 4 question. If
Will
you
you
don't
come
have
back
to.
will you come back for another hangout?
Yes. Yes, that would be nice.
Well, okay, when will be the Batman hangout?
Yes, when will the Batman hangout be, Ben?
Well, I was thinking, because we might do Enneagram on Sunday, because generally we're in a sort of rhythm of doing hangouts on Sunday.
Okay.
Maybe we could. When do you want to do the type and politics one, Jonathan? Would you like to do that on a different day?
How about Friday or Saturday, if possible?
So would you like to do the Batman one and the politics one on different nights?
Yeah, probably, because I don't know how long they'll last.
Right. Okay. So we could do.
Well, when are you available, Mylia, for the hangout?
Well, not sure yet. So you always have the hangouts on Sundays?
We're flexible. We're flexible.
Usually Fridays are the weekends, but obviously this is not either of those days, so we can.
Yeah, so maybe Thursday.
Right then.
Yeah.
Thursday for Batman it is.
Okay, so this Thursday is the Batman hangout.
No, this Thursday, okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, okay.
Maybe I could call it INFJ's Love Batman.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
Right.
All right.
So we might as well end the broadcast now. So all this behind the scenes tittle tattle. So it's bye from me, folks.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.